welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today I'm doing probably my most requested video like ever, and I'm going to be doing my ADHD video. I literally get messages on my ADHD near enough every single day. I will get messages from you guys all around the world being like, you know, what are your experiences, how did it happen, how are you diagnosed, what about medication, how does it affect you? So I'm literally going to sit down today and tell you everything about me and my story around ADHD, how I was before, how I was diagnosed with it, how I control it, how I am now. I'm going to tell you everything that I can about ADHD, and I hope that this might be able to help some of you guys that may be struggling and not really understanding why you're struggling, because I think this is the biggest thing, is that before I was diagnosed, I didn't understand why I wasn't the same as everyone else. Like, I couldn't sit down in a room, like, because obviously I was in school when I was diagnosed. I was 13 actually when I was diagnosed, so I had just went to high school. I think I was in year 8. Was I in year 8? Yeah, I was in year 8 in the UK. And I was constantly in trouble. I think this is very typical of children with ADHD, is that you're just constantly in trouble and you don't know why. You're being yourself, but you're in trouble, you're not doing what you're meant to, and you just can't seem to get your head around, like, why am I doing this? Why am I like this? So starting from the beginning, ever since I was tiny, I've always been very, very fidgety. You guys probably can tell in my videos, I'm very kind of like, I'm always moving, I'm always touching things, I'm always kind of all over the place. And that's very, very typical for someone with ADHD. Now, before I start, if you're wondering, ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Now, there are two types. There is ADD and ADHD. I've got a feeling Americans use the term ADD a lot more than ADHD, but there is a difference. ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and ADD is attention deficit disorder. So there is a difference. ADD is more about not being able to concentrate, and ADHD is more about constant kind of movement and the hyperactivity, the impulsiveness. That's a different side. It's all to do with the same thing, but it's a different side. There is a difference. So I'm just going to make sure that you're kind of aware of that, because there is quite a big difference for someone that's got ADD and ADHD. So I've got ADHD, which means I can't focus, I'm impulsive, I'm very hyperactive, I'm constantly moving. The thing that, for me, when I was in school, I'm constantly moving. I can't, even now, I can't stand still. This piece of hair is really bugging me. I just can't stand still. In a queue, I'm constantly swaying, I'm constantly moving. If I'm sitting down, my leg is bouncing. I think this is the thing, is that there is a big difference between ADD and ADHD. So if you're kind of a bit kind of confused, you know, if you're not hyperactive but you can't concentrate, you're probably more ADD. If you're just all over the place all the time with everything like me, then you're probably ADHD. I was diagnosed when I was 13, but I have had problems with focusing and constant movement since I was tiny. My mum, because when you go through the diagnostic process, you have interviews with your teachers, taking you in school. Once you're kind of out of school, it's a different kind of category, which I don't really know too much about, but this is if you're kind of like 16 or under and you're still in high school. You'll have interviews with your teachers, you'll have interview with you, you'll have school observation, which is when a couple of people you don't know. I remember when I had mine, and I was in my English class and I had 2 women come in, and I wasn't told. This is the big thing, you don't know when you're being observed. You've just got the kind of people in there that can be doing anything. They could be observing the tutor, you know, as they do when they kind of observe teachers. So I had no idea it was about me. So you have school obs, you have the interview with yourself, you have interview with your parents or your guardians, and you have interviews with yourself, interviews with your teachers, your guardians and your parents, and you'll have a school observation. It's quite a lengthy process getting diagnosed. That's all the observation stuff. And then you'll have a proper diagnostic interview with a psychiatrist once it gets to that, if they do believe that you are ADHD. So yeah, where do I begin? Okay, so as I was saying, from a really young age, I was constantly moving. The thing for me is I get very, very distracted. like I used to, when I was in school, I was never allowed to sit next to windows. I was never allowed to actually sit next to people. If I was sat by a window, I'd be off. Something out, even if it's a tree, a bird, an animal, anything, I'd be distracted within an instant, and that's it. My concentration levels, even now, I think this is the one thing that remains with me the most, because you do tend to grow out of it, even a little bit. Not always. Some people grow out of it entirely. Some people grow out of certain aspects of it. The one thing that has stuck with me through all of these years is my impulsiveness, although not quite as much, but my impulsiveness and my lack of concentration. I just get distracted so unbelievably easily. So yeah, I mean, typical symptoms are not being able to focus, not being able to get your work done, but not understanding why. Like, you're not deliberately kind of distracting other people, because that's the other thing. You're often in trouble for talking, for distracting other people. You'll often find that someone with the ADHD is often like the class clown, which was totally me. If there was something, someone was like, do this, do that to the tutor, or do this, like something naughty, I'd be like, right, I'm on it, it's me. So impulsive, not thinking things through, like doing stuff and then thinking, why the fuck have I just done that? Like, I'm gonna get in so much trouble, but not actually thinking about that until you've done it. So yeah, in school, I mean, I've kind of touched over my school experience, but I really didn't have a good time, mainly because of the ADHD stuff. So yeah, that was me, but when I was like 12, 13, when I just went to high school, all over the place, constantly moving, constantly in trouble, constantly doing things that afterwards I'd be like, why am I doing this? Like, why did I do that without thinking? And then I had the diagnosis, which was it's quite a long process, because if it's done right, I know that some people that I've spoken to that have had ADHD have had like a lot shorter process. My mum actually works in CAMS, which is where they will, if you have ADHD, that's where you'll be going, which is the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Unit, because it is a mental health disorder. Is it classed as a disorder? It's an emotional behavioural problem. You can take that what you will. Some people believe in the whole medication things, that's a whole other part, you know, there's the whole medication of how to control it once you are diagnosed, but I'll get onto that in a minute. So for my experience of it is I was constantly in trouble, constantly had all these problems, and I think it was my mum, because she works in it, so she's kind of got that like knowledge in the background and the ability to kind of see. And she was kind of thinking for a while kind of about me and wondering why I was constantly in trouble and things. And then she got two of her friends, I'm now actually really good friends with one of them, but she was actually my observation like the woman that came in to observe me. There was two. And basically the way they do the observation, I've actually looked at my file, which I probably shouldn't have because it's privacy and confidentiality and all that, but whatever, is they'll often sit there and it'll probably be in like a normal kind of environment in your lesson, and they'll pick one person out randomly in your class to like pick you against, so they'll see what that person's doing and what you're doing. And in my file it was all, I mean, I remember when I was diagnosed, there's actually a letter in there that says Maury has undoubtedly, that was the word, undoubtedly got ADHD, because my attention, it was just so obvious for me that I was just struggling. So yeah, there was two women that came in to watch me in my lesson. Again, I was completely oblivious to all of this, I had no idea, which is the way it should be, because if you know you're being observed, you often act differently, as you know, as we do as humans. So yeah, I had that done. Then I had an interview where I had lots of questions asked about how I kind of dealt with things, how I felt about things, they give you kind of scenarios and how, you know, how would you react to them and all of this. So you have like kind of quite an intense one-to-one interview. They all have an interview with your teachers at school. I think mine was my English tutor, who was my like head of form. And had an interview with her, and she really didn't like me. It's quite funny. I shouldn't have actually been seeing my file, but because my mum works in it, I managed, when I did my work experience, when I was in school, I actually went to the unit, CAMS, so I managed to have a sneaky look at my file. But she really didn't like me, and she was just, you know, I was very naughty, and I didn't do anything I was told, and I never did anything to my full potential. This is the other thing, is that I think that's a prime example for a lot of people with ADHD. The thing you'll get told the most is A, to shut up and stop talking, but also that you're not working to your full potential. Like, people can see the potential, but you're just not, like, you're not pushing it. You can't seem to get to your potential. So this is going to be a long video, by the way, I'm just warning you. So yeah, I had all of that done. Then I had my mum had like an interview where she answered questions, because they go all the way back to your childhood, because if you have ADHD you will have had it when you were a child. So you have that interview. So all of that was done, and then you have the actual diagnosis which happens, which is when you will go in to see a psychiatrist. I remember mine was called Tim, and he was lovely, and he asks me kind of like little questions, and that's the time when you discuss how to control your ADHD, because there are a variety of ways. Medication is one, but you don't have to use medication. You can kind of go through like therapies and stuff to kind of like mould yourself, like to kind of change your behaviour. But I didn't go down that route, I went down the medication route. So there are two types of medication for ADHD. There's Concerta and Ritalin. I'm pretty sure, I need to get this straight, Ritalin is because you can get different lengths as well. It's all very complicated. You have different kind of milligrams. I've got two here. This is Concerta, this is the one that I'm on, and you have prolonged release and you have short bursts. So there are ones that you take in the morning before school. So these ones I take in the morning and they'll last 12 hours. So that will get you through, you know, from when you first wake up, it will get you through all of the school time, or for me, college time. It will get you through homework, revision, any of that stuff, like after work, after school that you would be doing, and it will get you kind of through dinner, kind of, and then get you to kind of like the bedtime. So throughout the time when you're awake, you're kind of medicated. And my experiences with my medication, they're all over the place. Before I go on to that, actually, yeah, so there's two. That's prolonged release, the one that I have, which is 12 hours, and you also have, I think it's 4 hours, where you take one in the morning at like 9 o'clock, or kind of like 10-15 minutes before, because it takes a little while to kick in. So you take like one in the morning, one at lunch, and one in the afternoon. So you take like, I think it's 3, and that will keep you through. So you have different ways. If you don't want to have the full 12 hours, you can take them individually in like 4-hour bursts. I didn't do that because I was just really forgetful, and I just thought, why, I might as well just go the whole hog and just have one pill to take instead of having lots. So I'm not entirely sure on the differences between Concerta and Ritalin. There definitely are differences. I'm just not entirely sure. Obviously, I'm not trained or anything. I only know about my stuff and what I'm on. So I'm on Concerta. They come in little pots like this, and they're literally just little white pills. They're just tiny little white things. These are the 36s. Now, this is often down to your like your psychiatrist that will decide what dose you're on. When I was first diagnosed, I was on 56 milligrams, which the highest they normally put you on, unless you're like really like mentally ADHD, you'll be on, I think it's 72 milligrams is like the highest they kind of recommend. If it's any more than that, it goes into all different stuff. So you have the lowest, which is 18, and the highest, which is 72. So I was on 56, so I was like right on the top. The next one up from 56 was 72, so I was on the more extreme end of the spectrum. So I was diagnosed, I was prescribed, a high dosage to kind of control it. So yeah, these are what the 36s look like, the little white ones, and the 18s are a little smaller. And they're just little kind of yellow ones. You have the 36s as the big ones, and the 18s the little ones. Now I only take an 18 in the morning. I used to take a big one and a small one, which added up to 56 milligrams. So I was on this dosage for about 3 years. Yeah, 3 years I was on 56, which is a long time to be on such a high dosage, because they are very strong drugs. They are amphetamine, and if you don't have ADHD and you take these, you will be flying off the walls. They can make you very high. So it's interesting actually to see people on these. Not that I'm advising you to go and take these medicines, because they're very strong. So yeah, now I'm just on 18. Now, my experiences with these, I vary my dose depending on how I feel. I kind of wake up and know what kind of mood I'm going to be in, and also the kind of circumstantial. So if I'm going to be in college and I've got an exam, I will take more than I would do on a day when I'm just in college doing normal stuff. If I'm at home, sometimes I don't take them. Like if I'm just at home not really doing much, I don't need to take them, because I don't need to have that concentration. Side effects, they depend on you as a person. It's always different for everyone, but one of the most common ones, which is a positive and a negative, the biggest one is loss of appetite. Now, I know everyone's going to be like, hallelujah, like let's lose some weight. I would say that these meds actually caused my anorexia to get a lot worse than it was. I think I was abusing these for quite a long time because of the fact that I would not get hungry for 12 hours. I could go days without eating on these because by the time I was hungry, I was asleep, and then I'd take it in the morning and I'd be fine. So be careful if you already have weight problems. I'd be a little bit careful on these because you can end up with a drug problem, which you don't want on top of eating problems and everything else. That's one side effect, is weight loss. I often get, it's very bizarre the way to try and explain what it feels like, because it feels like you're you but you're not you. Like you as you know yourself in a day-to-day basis is like mental you, is how I think of it. I'm like mental me and medicated me, and it's very odd because it's like suddenly medicated me is like you're then normal. Like how you feel when you're on them is how everyone else must feel on a day-to-day basis. It's really, really bizarre. And yeah, I mean, other side effects, I often get heart palpitations if I take them, especially if I take too much. You've got to be very, very careful not to take too much because you can get, I mean, obviously you can overdose, but you can get really weird side effects. You can OD on the side effects. And you can, when I've taken too much before, I end up having panic attacks and I can't like clench my fists and stuff, like my muscles go into spasms and I get very clammy and my heart feels like it's gonna like burst. Like it's not a nice experience if you take too much, so be very careful with that. But yeah, so heart palpitations, which I know sounds scary, but I kind of got used to it. Like every now and again you'll just feel really like, you'll just feel your heart a lot more. I often get quite clammy, which is I think quite normal because obviously it's all to do with the receptors in your brain. You have different chemicals in your brain when you take this, as with any drug, but because it's so long lasting, I think the thing is you're gonna have to try them. When you get these bottles, they have side effects attached to them and the list is endless. So yeah, it's different for everyone. I would just be, take it. It's going to be weird. I remember the first time I took them, it's very, very weird because you don't feel like yourself, but you are yourself. And it's just a really, really weird experience. But you do get used to it. And nearly oh my god, how old am I? Christ, I'm 20 this year. Nearly 7 years on since I've been diagnosed. I feel like I'm nowhere near how bad I was when I was younger, but I just want to say, if you have ADHD, this is like my story. I know this has been so rambly and it's really, really long, but I wanted to kind of cover as much as possible. I just want to say, if you have ADHD and you're struggling, I understand completely, and I just want to give you all a huge, massive hug, just a big cyber hug. I really feel for you. I know how horrendous it is when you're constantly in trouble, you can't do anything, you can't do your work, you're failing, and you don't know why because you just don't understand. And I would say, if you feel like any of this relates to you, if you feel like anything I've explained is similar to you, go and speak to your GP. That is where you begin. You say to your GP, I'm struggling with my work, I'm struggling with this, whatever it may be, I think I might have ADHD. And from there, they can do all the observations and, because they will take you seriously. ADHD is a serious thing. I know I kind of joke about it and stuff, but it is, it is really debilitating at times when, when I was failing all my exams and stuff, because I just didn't understand. So yeah, I just want to say I really hope that all of you, if you are struggling with ADHD, that if you're already diagnosed, that you managed to find your dosage. And I'm not entirely sure about other ways. I did get a question, I read it just before I did this video, asking about how to control ADHD if you don't want to use medication. There are ways that I don't particularly want to talk about, as it's kind of with smoking like weed and stuff, which I know a lot of people with ADHD do that instead of taking meds, but that has got a whole other side of it. It's illegal to begin with, not that I'm not saying anything, but it is illegal, and the long-term side effects are more dangerous than the long-term side effects of these. So it's obviously everyone to themselves. If you want to smoke to control yourself, then that's fine, you do what you want, but I would say go the proper route if possible. as you know, it really helped me. It turned my life completely around. So yeah, I might do another video. I feel like this video has been so rambly and so not focused, which is very typical. You know, typical ADHD me in an ADHD me in an ADHD video. If you have any questions, please leave me them below. If I get a lot of them, I can do another follow-up video for this. I'm more than happy to do that. If there's just a few, I can reply to you. So yeah, that's all I have to say on this matter. I hope you found this helpful. If you haven't got ADHD and you're bored, I'm sorry. This is for ADHD people that are interested. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video very soon. I love you. Bye bye.